So what I want to do now is set up some wind space warps to break up the kind of uniform rotational pattern that we've obviously got through these Vortex Space Warps. So therefore, to do that, I'm just going to go to this wind and drag one of these guys out in the viewport, and then I'm just going to align it to any one of these because they're all within the same axis location. So I'm just going to stick that in there, and we can just have it for X, Y and Z position, so it just positioned it right at the center there. Okay, obviously need to link this guy as well to our controller object here. So to do that, I'm just going to click on this link tool and then drag that across to there. So when we scroll through, everything should be linked together. Now these wind space warps are going to work on the similar kind of processes we had with the Vortex Space Warps, i.e. we need to have different sizes for different particle systems, different particle effects. However, we also need multiple ones for each effect, just to break it up. Say for example, because we're going to be dealing with different scale values for each one, it's going to break up the resulting particle motion. If we just had one wind space warp for each system, the actual motion and distribution of the particles would be very, very uniform. So instead of having just kind of one turbulence value, like for example that generate a pattern like this, we can actually mix it with another space warp, so we kind of get this kind of like more natural distribution of the particles. So this first one we want to call wind, let's call it wind core debris, capital D in that. Okay, and what we want to do is start dialing in some values in here. So to do that, first thing what we want to do is we want to actually kill this strength value in here. So we're just going to drop that down to 0 by right clicking on the spinner. I'm just going to make sure I've got that labeled correctly, and then I'm going to set the turbulence value of 0.1. Alright, now any additional strength values we can basically dial in with influence values in our particle system. So the reason we're dropping this all the way down is quite simply so that the majority of the influence can be handled by the frequency, which we're actually going to increase up to a value of 5, and also the scale value, which we're going to drop to 0.01. That's going to result in quite a large distribution pattern. Now the thing is to remember with scale values is that the lower the value you have it, the larger the distribution pattern. Okay, so if I set it up to a value of 1, it would kind of be like this, whereas if I drop it down, we're going to get a pattern like this. Okay, so that's one of these guys sorted out. We need to actually create another one in here now, and to do that what I'm going to do is simply just copy it and we'll actually leave that name. I think we'll call that wind core debris 02, so in which case I think we'll label the other one as wind core debris 01, I think. So I'm going to grab that other guy there. Where are you? Here we go. Wind core debris 02, there we go, and I'm just going to increase the size of that icon just a touch, so again we can select it instantly if necessary. It's starting to get a little bit overlapped and confusing here, but bear with us. I think we're almost about done, just got one or two more to set up. Similar kind of principle as before. This time I actually want to increase the turbulence up. I want to set that up to about 0.3. The frequency I'm actually going to drop down to 2, and the scale I'm actually going to increase to 0.05, so therefore we've got a totally different waveform pattern now that's going to be within our core debris 02, which is going to be blended together with this other guy here. Okay, so the resulting pattern is going to be kind of this nice broken swirly effect that we saw in our reference. So the next one we want to introduce is the intake debris. So basically this guy is going to be designing the wind pattern for the debris that's going to be sucked into and up the funnel itself. So to do that, we'll basically clone this guy and then label it wind intake debris, and all we really need to do is simply just amend some of the values in here. So this guy, I'm actually going to increase the turbulence up to 0.3. I'll leave the frequency as is, however I'm going to increase the scale to 0.07, so therefore the waveform pattern on this guy is going to be a lot more exaggerated and also finer than its predecessors. So the last one we need to create is a wind space warp to handle with the dust, which is going to lift the dust off the ground, and then it gets caught and taken in within our swirling system here. So therefore what I want to do is clone this guy and label it wind dust, and to get it to obviously lift off the ground, what I need to do is add in a slight strength value. So I'm going to set that to 0.05, and I'm going to leave the turbulence at 0.3. Frequency I think I'll leave at 5 as well, and I'm going to actually drop this value down to 0.02, so we've got kind of these larger smoky tendril effects that have been produced with this wind dust space warp. I'm just going to pull that out there like that. So to summarise, what we have are quite a substantial amount of space warps in the scene. Now obviously all of these Vortex Space Warps are all dealing with boundaries, so therefore we've had to introduce a fair amount of these guys, and these wind space warps are simply there to lift the particles off the deck and also to break up any kind of uniformity in distribution. Alright, that's the reason why we've had to introduce a fair amount of these guys.